Yesterday, Virgin Islands delegate Stacey Plaskett was on MSNBC to talk about censorship. Plaskett claims, contrary to what some Republicans are saying, that the Democrats were not censoring. Here's what she had to say.
That any time you point out untruths, you're censoring, you're stopping people from speaking. It's not that we're not stopping people from speaking. People can speak, but we're also going to give the American people the truth so that they can have science and facts and history against wild, outlandish claims that the Republicans are trying to get. That's not only going to keep them from going to the polls or suppressing vote or telling untruths, but is also really very detrimental to the American people.
Last week, Plaskett was called out by Ohio Congressman and Chairman of the committee, Jim Jordan, for trying to censor 2024 Democratic hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his testimony on censorship. Also last week, following RFK Jr.'s testimony, MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell delivered a monologue on the Kennedy family. Here's a clip of part of his monologue.
Robert Kennedy Jr. knows nothing about censorship and obviously has no idea how much the American news media operated under strict government censorship during FDR's presidency.
It's obvious O'Donnell is not a fan of what Kennedy said in his testimony. And on Friday, a new batch of Twitter files was released. The release shows that Twitter processed this request against RFK Jr. It was sent from a law firm on behalf of Hawaii Senator Brian Schatz. Now, as you can see, this email has a screenshot of RFK Jr.'s tweet and reads, quote, "Hi, team. Can you take a look at this tweet against our COVID policy, please?" Twitter then processed the senator's request and sent the tweet to the review board. Also noteworthy, the senator's request came just minutes after a similar request from White House aide Clark Humphrey. Humphrey, too, sent a note to Twitter asking to remove the RFK Jr. tweet just one day after President Biden was inaugurated. Independent journalist Matt Taibbi joins me, and every time I see your name, I think of so-called journalists, which is what that delegate called you. And I refer the viewers to your Wikipedia page, which talks about your extensive career as a very distinguished journalist. But I get myself off track. All right, here's the thing that I don't understand, Matt, is who gets to decide what the truth is? That's what is so appalling to me, is all the people who want to censor people on Twitter, they get to make the rules as what's true and what's not true. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that's what's so interesting, Greta. I mean, traditionally in America, the courts have always held that the remedy for bad speech is better speech. And we have a very high standard legally, as you know, for government intervention. In speech cases, it's incitement to imminent lawless action, and Robert F. Kennedy is nowhere near that. And what's interesting about his case with these social media requests is that he has probably the clearest argument for a sort of a layup First Amendment case than as anybody that we saw in the Twitter files, because we see these requests that say things like requests to take action immediately or to get moving on the process for having this removed ASAP, requests from Senator Schatz to have this taken down, so and so. So it's not like we're asking, it's more like an order.
All right. Well, I mean, this is what I don't get, is that, I mean, the whole idea is who gets to decide what untruths are. The tweet that started this for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was this, and it was about 2 weeks after the first COVID vaccine was given. This was at the end of the Trump administration, and I think the first one was given about the 20th of December. And this is what he said: Hank Aaron's tragic death is part of a wave of suspicious deaths among elderly closely following administration of COVID. Well, that did happen. He did die. And, at the time, we were all suspicious. Nobody knew what was going on. I mean, we didn't even know how to treat COVID. Then he said he received the Moderna vaccine on January 5th. Well, that's a fact. He received it to inspire other Black Americans to get the vaccine. I mean, I don't know if if that was his reason or not. But the thing is that the White House decided and the senators decided that was untrue. I'm not so sure it is that this is an untruthful tweet. I mean, it may be that these deaths were not related, but at the time, there was so much uncertainty. And I think still there's so much uncertainty as what people die from, whatever. But That's what I think is the censorship aspect of it.
Right. I mean, I would hope you would agree, Greta, that I think that's our job in the media to sort that out, what's true and what's not. Well, it's part of our job anyway, right? It's certainly not the government's job traditionally in this country to have a ministry of truth to arbitrate what is and is not a fact. We sort of arrive at that collectively as a population through discussion and debate, and that's how we do things. And they had to create a new genre of misinformation to cover things like RFK's tweet. They call it malinformation, which is really basically true information that has what they think is an adverse political outcome. It might result in people not getting vaccinated, but there's no wrong fact in there necessarily, which I think is a particularly dangerous form of censorship.
Well, just as an aside, I got 4 vaccines, and I'm happy I got them. And I just, I think it's fair to have a discussion right when they started about, about if there's anything peculiar or not peculiar. So I think, it's always dangerous when we start, when we have the truth police or the fact police, when we're in the middle of trying to sort out, obviously a very difficult problem facing our country. But Matt Taibbi, a real journalist, not a so-called one. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much, Greta. I appreciate it.